India is a subcontinent, which is a part of Asia, separated by the largest mountain range in the world, the Himalayan mountains. 6 nations make up all of India. India has 2 river valleys, known as the Ganges River Valley and the Indus River Valley, which have the Ganges River and the Indus River to provide water for each of the valleys. South of the 2 photo rivers is the dry and hilly Deccan Plateau. Indian climate is affected by summer and winter monsoons. Monsoons affect the amount of rain India gets, in turn affecting their climate. India's first civilizations began on these river valleys. It grew up near the Indus River, and when the summer monsoons began, the river rose higher. This was around 3000 BC. The 2 major cities at the time were Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. These cities has wide streets as well as other features to the civilizations. Harappan used a script, and people didn't know how to decipher these markings, even today. The houses were very technologically advanced for their time, too. Each one had its own drainage system and much more. These houses were also made of adobe and stone. The Aryans were people that settled in the Indus River Valley after the Harappan civilization fell. The Aryans were talented farmers, herders, and horse riders. Cattle was a prized possession that provided meat, milk, butter, and was even used as a currency. Cattle was extremely important to the Aryans and was even referred to as the sacred cattle. How much cattle you had even measured your individual wealth as an Aryan. If you had less cattle, you would be considered less wealthy. However, if you had more cattle, you'd be considered more wealthy. In 2000 BC, the Aryans left their territory. Some groups topped the Himalayan mountains and entered the Indus River Valley. The Aryans expanded their civilization, and they improved farming, they created their own language, and were able to develop an iron plow and irrigation to help them create food and surpluses. The Aryans were also divided into tribes, with a leader or a Raja, and these kingdoms existed from about 1500 BC to 400 BC. The Aryans made a caste system, and this was very important to their society. A caste is a group that someone is born into and cannot leave. Instead of Indians calling it a caste, they called it a jati. The classes called Varna have 5 classes. The Pariahs, who are untouchables, the Sudras, who are farmers, and the unskilled workers. The Vaishyas, who are common people like merchants. The Kshatriyas, who are the rulers and warriors, and finally the Brahmins, who are the priests and the top ruling men. The role of men and women were very important too. In families at the top of society, a boy had a guru or a teacher until he went to the city for more education. If a woman died in a prominent family, she would have to jump into the flames where her husband was cremated, and this practice was called suti. Hinduism is an old religion found in the 4 Vedas and believed in many gods, also known as deities. The Aryans followed the religion of Hinduism, which followed epics, which were long poems told about heroic deeds. Brahmins recited these epics to Hindus. Brahman was the universal spirit that told about heroic deeds. The Hindus worshipped them. This was later known as the religion of Brahmanism. Sacred texts, known as the Appendish, expanded how any living thing unites with Brahman when deceased. Karma. When a person dies, they must pass through many lives to reunite with Brahman, which is called reincarnation. Dharma was the defined law where when the person must perform their duty on the caste and live a good life. The consequence of how a person lives is called karma. Whether the consequence of how you live is good or bad, it affects the person in all ways. The way a person lives affects them, and this type of karma they get. If a person does their duty, they'll move up the caste and become closer to uniting with the Brahman. A young prince named Siddhartha Gautama in a kingdom known as the Himalayas was a happy man with kids. One day he explored out of the kingdom and found people who were suffering, and he felt bad. So he meditated under a tree for 49 days and wanted to know why they were suffering. He became powerful and wanted to know everything. He was known as the Buddha, or the Enlightened One. Buddhism believes that everything in real life has no realism and everything was an illusion. An example of this is Mohandas Gandhi. During the 20th century, when Britain controlled India, Gandhi led peaceful protests, which was later adopted by Martin Luther King in the 1960s. Gandhi protested the high salt taxes on Britain, and eventually Britain gave up control of India as a colony without any bloodshed. The Buddha said that if you give up your desires to reach nirvana, and nirvana is a word that came from Sanskrit, and it meant to blow out a candle with a flame. The 4 noble truths were 4 truths that everyone knew about. The 4th truth was to follow the enlightened path and to eliminate all suffering. After After this, there was a Mauryan dynasty. During 500 BC, the empire started wars, and this broke into a civil war which the Persians took advantage of and invaded the Indus Valley. India's first empires took place where Chandragupta Maurya had the opportunity to conquer and unite most of northern India, which is what he did, making him well known and powerful. In 321 BC, Chandragupta founded the Mauryan dynasty and moved the capital to Pataliputra. Chandragupta also had a centralized government as well as a good spy system. Since the capital was powerful and well organized, the Mauryan dynasty prospered. Asoka was also another leader. Many historians think Asoka was the greatest king who ruled from 273 to 232 BC. Asoka also lived his life in peace and primary focus on the teachings of the Buddha. After he saw bloodshed and war, he vowed to never hurt anyone again and follow the teachings of the Buddha. After the fall of the Mauryan Empire, in 232 BC when Asoka died, the kings that followed him were much weaker leaders, and they all fought against each other, they had attacks, and everyone there suffered. After this, another prince named Chandragupta took over. When he died, his son took over, Chandragupta, and this provided jobs and increased tourism, leading India in its golden age. Scientists and writers produced many works during this time. They were able to figure out the earth wasn't flat, and even knew gravity was real. They invented the number system of 0 through 10, and were even able to understand the concept of zero, infinity, and many other things. They were even able to use algebra. They were one of the first civilizations to use algebra. An Indian doctor named Susta created an early form of plastic surgery.